Good morning, Las Vegas. I'm just thrilled to be here to learn everything about what's happening here in Las Vegas. And I want to share with you what SLO Food has done around school gardens and perhaps inspire you to adopt some of these programs here in Las Vegas and to take a slightly different perspective of what school gardens can do for us. Who has heard of SLO Food before? That's probably what we typically expect. 10 to 20% of the public knows about SLO Food. SLO Food is a worldwide movement. Our beginnings was about 30 years ago in Italy when the American fast food restaurants started to come across the pond and land in Europe. The Italian farmers saw these fast food restaurants as a threat to their food culture. So they started some protests in front of the fast food restaurants. And their way of protesting is sitting down with bowls of pasta and enjoying the pasta in front of the establishments. And so SLO Food was started as a counter-revolution to fast food. Yes. And it's surprising. The kids pick up on this really quickly in schools. The adults have a little more difficulty picking up on what SLO Food is. We're not crock pot cookers, or long-term braisers, although we do enjoy doing that. But from those beginnings in Italy, SLO Food has moved across the globe. We're now in 170 countries across the world. Here in the United States, we have headquarters in Brooklyn and in Denver. And we have approximately 150 chapters across the country of very passionate people working towards the SLO Food ideals. SLO Food is also a lifestyle choice. We choose to spend more time in the kitchen. We choose to spend more time in the garden. We want to get to know our farmers, get to know where our food is coming from. We're also a shift in priorities. We think about dinner every night. What we're going to do. It's not a last-minute decision. We want to support the local agriculture. Our activities are really based around building a healthy food system. And most importantly, we're a network of very, very passionate people that want to support the local food systems. If you remember anything from this presentation, remember the words good, clean, and fair. And I'll be repeating those often today. We are trying to build a food system that is good, clean, and fair. And what I mean by good is that the food that we eat should be good for our bodies and good for our minds. The food that we eat should be grown and raised in respect to the environment and to protect the environment, to build the systems around how the food is grown. And the food should be fair to everybody. That everyone should have access to this food. Food desert should be an old term at some point. The food should be, the workers who produce our food should get fair wages and in good working conditions. And the farmer should get a bigger part of the food dollar. This is the system we're trying to build. I think Kiara did a good job introducing me in my background. I do want to point out, for 12 years, I was in the school gardens just like you are now. I was the parent volunteer at my kids' elementary school, developed the largest school garden in the Denver network, and helped SLO Food Denver develop a network that we thought was one of the bigger ones in the nation, but now I'm finding out about Green Planet, and there are over 100 gardens. We're about 70 or 80 gardens in Denver Public Schools, a district not quite as large as Clark County. For the last 4 years, I've been with SLO Food USA, building programs for our 150 chapters across the nation to support their school garden programs. Back to SLO Food. We have lots of initiatives that look at the food system, and we give them cute little labels like SLO Meat, SLO Fish, SLO Wine, SLO Beer. And really what we're doing here is we're looking at each of these products and examining their food system and how can we make that more good, clean, and fair. So if we take SLO Meat, for example, we start at the ranch. How are the animals being raised? What are the practices by the ranchers and the workers there? And then we follow that meat all the way through to the processing centers, the butchers, and where that meat is available to the general public through grocery stores, restaurants, and how it gets home and how it's enjoyed. So SLO Meat looks at everything from ranch to plate, and how can we make that system good, clean, and fair. And the other programs are very similar to that, but they all have their unique challenges. And people within the SLO Food system get excited about their, these different programs because perhaps it's meaningful to their community. I helped develop the SLO Gardens program. And the SLO Gardens program is the result of all the efforts of slow food chapters around the country, pulling together all the expertise and activities that the chapters do in their community and creating a national program. Our goal is, in the SLO Gardens program, is to develop the next generation of healthy eaters. And we want them to be active in their food system. We want them to be active in creating a good, clean, and fair food system. It's my personal feeling that a lot of the health issues that we're facing today, and Kiara showed us some nice examples in her slides, is because kids are passive in their food system right now. Kids come home, they ask for a snack, and the snack is provided by their caretaker, their parents, whoever. But the kids aren't making any choices. They don't understand where this food is coming from. They don't understand what good food is versus bad food. And so they just passively accept it and they don't question it. We want these programs to make the kids more active. We want them to have the knowledge, the skills, and the understanding to make good food choices, to speak up for their food that is good, clean, and fair, and to be those leaders in their communities around food. But it all begins in the classroom when we're talking about school gardens. And I'm here to really learn from you guys in your presentations on what's happening here in Las Vegas. I want to share what I learned here back with my colleagues at SLO Food and as I travel the country with my SLO Food chapters. But we want to crown you teachers in the room as SLO Food champions, because I know how much extra work School Gardens is for a classroom teacher. I was in there for 12 years and I worked with teachers on a daily basis making School Gardens come alive. You're doing a lot of extra work. You're pushing the frontiers of education, using the outside space as an educational activity. So I applaud you, and in a small token of our appreciation, let me grab one here. I've got a bunch of stickers. I dig School Gardens. Please stop by and see me today as I roam around the different presentations. I'd be happy to give you one of these. It works great on your water bottle or on your computer or whatever. But this is kind of the motto that SLO Gardens has taken up. I dig School Gardens, and we dig you guys very much. So the way SLO Food USA supports teachers is through a lot of resources. I'm going to share some of the resources that we've created today during the presentation. And they're all available free as downloads on our website, which is on the bottom of this slide. We're developing what we call the Good, Clean, and Fair School Garden Curriculum. They're going to be separate volumes of good, clean, and fair, and really teach the SLO Food perspective of what can happen in a school garden. Our first publication was the School Garden Guide, which is really the lessons learned from 10 SLO Food chapters across the country on how to start a school garden, how to get volunteers, how to market that garden, how to do fundraising and all that. This was our first publication 3 years ago, and it's still very, very relevant and again available on our website. We create networks of teachers in our communities. So the SLO Food chapters will host workshops and get free seeds and free plants and materials for school gardens. And so we love to build the networks because teachers shouldn't work alone. They should have partners in this activity. And Green Our Planet is a wonderful partner in that in your local community here. And we also create partnerships. SLO Food is very well connected to chefs and farmers and the producers in our communities. And they provide a wonderful asset to the teachers in the school garden programs. What I want to present today is a slightly different perspective of what school gardens can do. And from our perspective, again, we want to create from this young population the next generation of leaders and advocates for a good, clean, and fair food system. And in order to do this, we need to really educate these children about what food is all about. We need to increase their knowledge about food, where it comes from, why it's good for your body, who produces it, what are the challenges to producing it. We really have to increase the skills of the children. We have to teach them how to plant a seed, how to transplant a seedling. We need to teach them how to follow a recipe, to take a whole head of cabbage and using a knife to break that down so they can follow a recipe. We have to increase their confidence with food. I see so many people that are afraid of new foods. and to try something that they just see in the grocery store, but they're afraid to bring it home, and they're afraid to experiment with it. We've got the largest cookbook ever available to us. It's called the internet. There isn't a single recipe that you can't get nowadays for any food product. And yet most people, think about what you eat at home, have 5 vegetables that they routinely go to, and that's it. So through School Gardens, we can increase the confidence that kids have with food. And we need to show kids that food can connect them to their community. School Gardens is just not what's happening at school. School Gardens is about what's happening in your bigger community. And I think there's a lot to learn there. And I've already seen some great examples today of what's happening here in Vegas. So I'm going to go through a series of programs that SLO Food has helped support over the years, and how this engages the kids in their food systems. This engages kids as food leaders and educates them to be food advocates for a better food system. It all starts with what we call garden education. And these are the classes that you guys do in the School Gardens. And whether you're teaching about math or science or literature or music and art in the School Garden, the kids are learning on how to grow food. They're learning about how difficult it is to grow food. I still laugh when I hear kids after 5 minutes of picking strawberries that their back hurts. And I say, imagine the 8 to 10 to 12 hours that the farm workers in California are doing every day to pick your strawberries that are in the grocery stores. Kids don't, appreciate hard work. I'm sounding like an old fuddy-duddy right now, but we got to get away from the laptops and get it back outside and experience what work's all about. Through the process of working in the garden, they learn about the environment and learning how to protect the environment. They become plant experts, and they really begin to appreciate the producers, the beginning of that food chain that we want them to be so supportive of. And for an urban school kid, growing your own food, if you live in apartments or you live in where there's no natural dirt outside, and learning how to grow your own food, that's the first step in becoming an active participant in your food system. Once that food is growing and now you've got something to harvest, SLO Food supports what we call taste education. And this starts with the simple act of taking a cherry tomato off the plant in the garden and tasting it right there. Tasting that natural product, that sun-warmed tomato or that cucumber that got chilled last night because the temperatures dropped a little bit like that. That kind of tasting is so important to the development of their palates. Those palates that are being suppressed now by the sugar, salt, and fat of an average U.S. diet. In taste education, kids learn when it's appropriate times to harvest. Not all tomatoes are red. There are yellow tomatoes, there are purple tomatoes, and that's okay. Let's harvest those. They learn how to follow recipes. These are kindergartners making pesto using a mortar and pestle. So they're using simple kitchen tools to take a plant that they had picked 15 minutes earlier, and they're transforming that into something that they're somewhat familiar with because they see it on pizza when they go out to eat, but they've never made it before. And so now they're learning how to make it, and learning how to make it in an old-fashioned way. How important it is for a young kid to feed themselves when they've been dependent upon their caretakers to feed them for so many years. This takes them to a whole new level of appreciation for food. And perhaps they won't go away as hungry anymore because they can come home and take care of themselves a little bit, feeding themselves. The Garden and Cafeteria program is one of my specialties. And this is an opportunity for School Gardens to grow food and sell it to their cafeteria program to use on the salad bars and in the preparation of the school meals. Denver Public Schools was one of the first districts in the country 7 years ago to launch a district-wide garden and cafeteria program. And I helped write the food safety rules and protocols so that we could follow the health department and grow food that's safe and deliver that food to the cafeteria that's safe for the cafeteria to use. In this process, kids are learning about how to be part of the food system. This is literally a food chain from the garden to the cafeteria and food that's going to be consumed right there. It's a small food chain, but it represents what's happening on a national and global level. They learn about food safety, about procurement, and how to measure things. They learn how to feed themselves in the cooking classes. Now they're feeding their friends in garden and cafeteria. Their sphere of influence is increasing every day in these kind of programs. Youth farm stands is another activity that SLO Food has been supporting, and I'm just blown away by your own farm stand program here that you have in Nevada. In this program, kids are learning how to run a small business. They're participating in a food chain by providing food to their community. They're learning about customer service. How many times does a young kid get to deal with an adult in a financial transaction and learn how to communicate, learn how to talk to somebody eye to eye? This is a great opportunity for the kids to learn that experience. They get leadership and teamwork experience because these are very busy and difficult stands to run. And again, this kind of a program extends their influence into the greater community. The community gets to experience that this healthy food is coming from the school, and the kids get to see that the community values this food because they come back week after week to buy it from the community. Again, a very powerful program for an urban kid. There are some donation programs coming out of School Gardens in which they're learning about hunger in their community. We have one in Denver called Produce for Pantries, in which schools can connect to their local pantry and supply extra produce from the garden to feed the hungry people in their community. This opens up all those questions. Why is there hunger in my community? What can I do with this extra food? I don't want to throw it away. That's a waste. How can we find ways to feed our community? And then even in Denver, we started a garden to zoo program. And this was a really fun program to do because the kids were growing food for the gorillas at the Denver Zoo. And they got to learn that all species value fresh, healthy food, not just the human species. And they got, at the end of the season, they get a tour behind the scenes of the zoo and learn how the animals are fed all their different diets. And what really became powerful for me in this experience was there's always some kids in your program that won't touch the food that they grow just because they're really obstinate and they really refuse to eat kale or they refuse to eat that yellow tomato. But I saw kids at the zoo, when they saw that gorilla eating the kale, they wanted to eat the kale too. So, hey, I'm willing to look at any role models I can get, you know. And if that gorilla is going to be a role model for my kids, I'm going to feed that gorilla. So this really opened up some new possibilities, and I learned a lot about what happens at a zoo in the food system there too. So to wrap this up, SLO Gardens is a program, and School Gardens in general, is an opportunity to really engage kids actively in their food system. They have the opportunity to be active participants, learn about all the different segments of a food system, and find the ways that they can interject in that system in their community to create a better system for the citizens. They get to assume key roles and key players. They can be the farmer, they can be the chef, they can be a director, but they can learn the processes through the School Garden program and become those leaders in their community. And all the while, we're building those healthy habits. We want to decrease those obesity rates. We want them to be the next generation of parents that are going to have kids that will live longer than they will as parents.